studying Young and Dyslexic, desperate to get 22 out of 22 for question 5, you're in the right place. Let me get you there. You're watching Schofield on Shakespeare.
Abbiamo il cuore a strisce, portaci dove vuoi.
So this question is out of 22. At the top end, what are we looking for? Varied and comprehensive range of comparisons covering both texts as a whole. You also need some brief analysis of each quotation using subject terminology. Make sure that your response is balanced. You must have a reasonably equal split between the two texts. I think an introduction is important for question 5, whereas there probably isn't time for one in question 4. Sum up the two texts in relation to the question within this introduction and include an initial similarity difference. You should have 4 chunky paragraphs after your introduction. Start each paragraph with a comparative statement, such as both texts suggest this. This can be reasonably simple, but you should then dissect this similarity by pointing out a way in which the similarity is treated differently within the two texts. Always ensure that you use quotations, short ones, to back up your points, and you need to analyse them briefly. You should also develop or extend your initial similarity mid-paragraph, and once again, back up your points with analysed quotations from both texts. This video is going to explore this question. Compare how the writers present their ideas and perspectives about their experiences. Time for you to have a read through the text if you've not already done this. They will appear at 5-second intervals. Press pause now.
Remember the principles. 4 main paragraphs. Start each paragraph with a comparative statement, both. In the second sentence, then explain how this similarity is presented differently across the two texts.
Typically, it will look something like this. Why not look back at the text now and try to jot down 4 of these, which could potentially be used to kick off your 4 main paragraphs. Go on, give it a go. Press pause now. Fancy a gander at my topic sentences? You're in luck. They're about to appear on screen at 5-second intervals. You've got this. Press pause now. Time now for you to have a go. Write a full question 5, remembering to use topic sentences at the beginning of each main paragraph, in which you first state a similarity and then explain how the similarity is presented differently within each text. Back up your points with quotations from each text and develop your initial point mid-paragraph, with this development once again being backed up by quotations from each text. You also need to include an introduction in which you summarise each text in relation to the question and introduce an initial comparative point. What are you waiting for? Write that fabulous essay. Aim for 22 out of 22. The text will reappear now at 3-second intervals. Press pause now.
How did you get on? Produce a wonderful 22 out of 22 response. Time to compare your response with mine.
Text 1 is a heartwarming account from a writer with cerebral palsy who describes the crucial moment she was able to draw a letter A with the toes of his left foot, an event which would open up the possibility of future written communication. Text 2 is an account from the recently deceased poet Benjamin Zephaniah about his struggles with dyslexia and the prejudice encountered. Both texts highlight the importance of resilience and determination when facing difficulties, but also the role played by supportive family members. Both texts present children with difficulties who have to struggle against prejudice held by those in authority. In text 1, the authority figures are doctors, whereas in text 2, they are teachers. In text 1, the writer makes reference to doctors who labelled him as very interesting but also a hopeless case. These adjectives patronise Christie's mother and suggests that they believe that nothing can be done to help him from a medical standpoint. The teachers in text 2 are even ruder, although to Zephaniah rather than his mother. Following a challenging philosophical question, he is told simply, "Shut up, stupid boy." The imperative and adjective aim to demean and highlight the teacher's ignorance when dealing with alternative viewpoints and perspectives. The doctor's key mistake within text 1 is their belief that a physical disability, such as cerebral palsy, must equate to mental disabilities, hence their suggestion that Christie was mentally defective. This is proven to be incorrect within the text, as a 5-year-old Christie successfully follows instructions to draw a letter A with his left foot. In text 2, Zephaniah doesn't have any physical disabilities, but nonetheless the teachers clearly believe that his dyslexia similarly implies mental defects. One teacher even tells him that we can't all be intelligent before ushering him outside to play football. This comment implies that the teacher may also be prejudiced about Zephaniah's skin colour, given his assumption that he may be better suited to sport rather than academic work. Both texts present children who have significant barriers to overcome when learning how to produce written communication. In text 1, Christie cannot use her hands to write, whereas in text 2, Zephaniah encountered teachers with no interest whatsoever in helping him with his undiagnosed dyslexia. Christie's difficulties are identified from a very young age, and the fact that he was unable to sit up without having a mountain of pillows around him at 12 months gave an early insight into fundamental motor skills and coordination difficulties, which are so crucial when it comes to writing. Meanwhile, in text 2, Zephaniah referred to the fact that within the educational system there was no compassion, no understanding and no humanity. This depressing tricolon highlights the fact that teachers had no interest in listening to or caring about his difficulties, which he subsequently found out were largely due to his dyslexia. Meanwhile, in Text 1, Christie's physical difficulties became more pronounced as a young child, so much so that at the age of 5, he was described as a little bundle of crooked muscles and twisted nerves. This noun phrase suggests that Christie's body was helplessly contorted, making him reliant upon loving family members for basic movement. Such a description implies that independent production of written communication must surely be impossible. In Text 2, Zephaniah's difficulties are less pronounced, but his frustrations with his literacy contribute to him being dismissed as a troublemaker in school. He reveals that he got thrown out of a lot of schools. The phrasal verb highlights the eagerness with which schools were keen to expel him, having failed to understand either his difficulties or his alternative, more creative mindsets. Both texts show the importance of family members in helping children respond to adversity. In Text 1, Christie's mother believes in her son's potential, irrespective of his cerebral palsy. Whereas in Text 2, Zephaniah's sister is instrumental in his journey towards becoming a poet. Christie's mother's love and determination to help her son are evident throughout Text 1, including in her refusal to accept the doctor's notion that nothing could be done for him. Zephaniah doesn't mention his parents, but he does reveal that at 10 or 11 my sister wrote some of my poems down for me. Such an act implies that Zephaniah did have some important family support, with his sister offering him validation for his ideas and creativity. Nonetheless, Christie's mother's support is even more crucial, notably when she pressures him to copy the letter A using chalk wedged between the toes of his left foot. She tells him, "Copy that. Copy it. Try again." Christie's mother knows that it would be difficult for him to coordinate his left foot in order to write this letter, but has higher expectations than his doctors. Her repeated imperatives show her determination not to give up on her son as someone with mental capabilities. Whereas Christie needed his mother to push him and believe in him, Zephaniah had a certain amount of inner confidence. "I never thought I was stupid." In addition to being helped by his sister, as an adult he told his poems to his girlfriend, who wrote them down for me. These became popular, and thus with success, Zephaniah's confidence, like Christie's, grew. Both texts present children who have to demonstrate significant resilience in order to achieve their goals. In Text 1, Christie, age 5, has to battle merely to be able to draw the letter A with his feet, whereas in Text 2, Zephaniah has to use coping strategies even as an adult poet in order to maintain his success. When first asked to draw the letter A, the narrator reveals simply, "I couldn't." This simple sentence within a single paragraph has an air of finality, which emphasises that the narrator was initially completely defeated by the task asked of him by his mother. Whereas Text 1 charts Christie's difficulties as a young child, Text 2 explores Zephaniah's difficulties both as a child and an adult. Even as a successful poet, he reveals that he never reads one of his novels in public and gets an actor to read it out. This highlights the fact that dyslexia is not something you grow out of, and that it can be as challenging to read your own writing as that produced by others. Christie has much greater challenges to overcome, but it is clear that his eventual success drawing the letter A is seen as a turning point in his journey to be able to communicate with others. The excitement of the 5-year-old is palpable. I had done it. It had started. Zephaniah's appreciation and understanding of his own difficulties and potential is a far more gradual process. Nonetheless, being told by a teacher at an adult education class that he was dyslexic is clearly important. He suddenly thought, I get it. In both texts, therefore, the narrators have light bulb moments which free them up to develop strategies which over time will allow them to become successful writers. Don't spend too long on your introduction, but do aim to sum up the two texts in a concise, lively, detailed way. Perhaps the most difficult part of this structure is the development of the initial idea mid-paragraph. Look at how it has been done here. My initial similarity is that, in both texts, the children have to struggle against prejudice from those held in authority. Within text 1, these authority figures are doctors, and my first point is that they claim that nothing can be done to help him. However, I then develop this point in more detail, in the middle of the paragraph, by saying that these doctors have erroneously linked significant physical disabilities with mental impairment, something which is later proven to be wrong by Christie successfully controlling his left foot to draw the letter A. You don't need to use the same quantity of subject terminology for question 5 as you do for question 4, but you do need to put it in occasionally post-quotation, as I do here when I use the phrases depressing tricolon, noun phrase, and phrasal verb. Keep on comparing throughout the paragraph. In this particular paragraph, there is my initial similarity in the first sentence, which is dissected in the second. But notice the use of the comparative more, as well as the apostrophes used accurately. Nonetheless, Christie's mother's support is even more crucial. Note also the whereas structure late on within the paragraph. Whereas Christie needed his mother to push him and believe in him, Zephaniah had a certain amount of inner confidence. Finally, there is also the like structure. Zephaniah's confidence, like Christie's, grew. Finally, note the summative similarity at the end of the final main paragraph, which gives an air of finality to the essay as a whole.
This has been a Schofield on Shakespeare production, helping you with exam technique and giving you a 22 out of 22 response to ponder for question 5. Many thanks for watching.